force yourself to be disciplined, nothing changes until you do. That's not motivational fluff. That's a hard truth you need to hear right now. Because if you don't force this change, if you don't grab yourself by the collar and demand more, you're going to be sitting in the exact same spot a year from now. Same problems, same excuses, same regrets. And you already know that, don't you? I've been exactly where you are, waiting for the right moment, waiting to feel ready, waiting for motivation to strike like lightning. And while I waited, years disappeared. Not because I couldn't change, but because I refused to force myself to do what needed to be done. So let me tell you what nobody else will. You should be afraid of taking the hard road, of forcing discipline into your life when everything in you wants to stay comfortable. But you should be more afraid of staying exactly where you are right now. Because the clock is ticking, and every day you don't force yourself to change is a day you'll never get back. Here's what most people don't understand about discipline. They think it's about motivation. They think it's about feeling inspired or energized or ready. It's not. Discipline is about forcing yourself to do what needs to be done regardless of how you feel. It's about grabbing control when everything in you wants to let go. It's about becoming the thing that makes you move forward, not waiting for something external to push you. And right now, you're at a crossroads. One path is familiar. It's the path of good intentions and tomorrow promises. It's the path where you tell yourself you'll start next week, next month, next year. It's comfortable, it's safe, and it leads absolutely nowhere. The other path requires you to force yourself to wake up when you don't want to do the work when you don't feel like it, to push when everything in you wants to quit. That path is hard, brutally hard. But here's what nobody tells you about the hard path. It's actually easier than the alternative. Because living with regret is harder than discipline ever will be. Watching years slip away is harder than one difficult morning. Knowing you could have been more but chose comfort instead, that will crush you in ways that discipline never could. I learned this lesson the expensive way. I spent my 20s in a fog of potential. Everyone saw what I could be. I saw what I could be. But I refused to force myself to become it. I had a job that paid just enough to keep me stuck. I had routines that felt like safety but were actually slow, death. And every Sunday night, I felt this weight in my chest. You know that feeling? That dread that settles in when you realize another week is coming and nothing is going to be different. That knot in your stomach when you look at your life and see the gap between who you are and who you could be. I lived with that feeling for years, not because I didn't know what to do, but because I refused to force myself to do it. Let me destroy a myth that's probably keeping you stuck right now. Discipline is not something you wait to have. It's something you force yourself to practice. Most people treat discipline like a personality trait. Like some people are born with it and others aren't. Like it's genetic or hardwired or just a matter of luck. That's complete garbage. Discipline is a decision you make every single day. It's a muscle you build by forcing yourself to use it, especially when you don't want to, especially when it hurts. Think about it like this. You've got a house that needs work. The plumbing is shot. The roof leaks. The foundation has cracks. Are you going to pretend it's fine? Are you going to wait until you feel motivated to fix it? No. You're going to force yourself to face what's broken. You're going to look at every crack, every leak, every problem, and then you're going to fix it piece by piece, whether you feel like it or not. That's your life right now. That house is you. And if you're honest, really honest, you already know what needs to be fixed. You know the habits that are killing you. You know the patterns that keep you stuck. You know the things you need to stop doing and the things you need to start. The question isn't what needs to change. The question is whether you're going to force yourself to make that change. Here's where it gets interesting. Most people fail at discipline because they're trying to change everything at once. They wake up on Monday morning with this massive list of transformations. They're going to work out every day, eat perfectly, wake up at 5, meditate, read, journal, build a business, and become a completely different person by Friday. And by Wednesday, they've quit. Not because they're weak, not because they lack discipline, but because they're trying to force too much too fast. Here's what actually works. You force yourself to change one thing, just one. Something small enough that you can actually do it, but meaningful enough that it matters. Maybe it's making your bed every morning. Sounds stupid, right? Sounds like something that won't make a difference. But watch what happens. You force yourself to make your bed. That's it. That's the only thing you're focused on. And you do it. Day 1, you do it. Day 2, you do it. Day 7, you're still doing it. And something shifts. Because you've proven to yourself that you can force yourself to do something. You've shown yourself that discipline isn't this impossible mountain. It's a series of small choices. And you just made one. If you're feeling this right now, if this is hitting something in you, just drop the word discipline in the comments. Let me know you're here. Let me know you're ready to force this change. Now, here's where most motivational content lies to you. They tell you that if you just believe in yourself enough, if you just want it bad enough, everything will work out. That's not how this works. Forcing yourself to be disciplined doesn't mean everything becomes easy. It doesn't mean you won't fail. It doesn't mean you won't have days where you fall apart. It means you get back up. I watched my daughter go through something that would break most adults. She was 14 when her body started attacking itself. Juvenile rheumatoid arthritis. First, it destroyed her hip, then her ankle. She walked on broken legs for 2 years. 2 years. And every day she had a choice. She could let the pain win. She could give up. She could decide that this was too much and she was done fighting. But she forced herself to keep going. Not because she felt motivated, not because she had some inspirational moment, but because she understood something fundamental. When you're in hell, the only way out is through, and you have to force yourself to take each step. That's what discipline really is. It's forcing yourself to take the next step when everything in you wants to stop. You want to know the secret to getting through the darkest times? You shorten your time frame when you can't. See how you're going to make it through the month? You focus on the week. When the week feels impossible, you focus on today. When today's too much, you focus on this hour. This moment. this breath, you force yourself to be present right here, right now, and you do the next right thing. That's it. That's all. Discipline requires the next right thing. And then the next, and then the next. You string together enough next right things and suddenly you've made it through the day. You make it through. Enough days and you've made it through the week. Enough weeks and you're looking back at a month of forcing yourself forward when everything wanted to pull you back. Let me be brutally honest about something. You're not going to feel like doing this. That's the whole point. Discipline isn't about doing things when you feel like it. That's called preference. Discipline is about forcing yourself to act when every fiber of your being wants to stay still. You think successful people wake up every morning excited to grind? You think disciplined people bounce out of bed ready to conquer the world? They don't. They force themselves out of bed. They push through the resistance. They do what needs to be done while everyone else is waiting to feel ready. Here's what that looks like practically. It's 6 a.m. Your alarm goes off. You're tired. You were up late. You didn't sleep well. Every part of you wants to hit snooze. This is the moment. Not some epic future decision, not some grand life choice. This moment, right here, this is where discipline lives. You force yourself up. Your body is protesting. Your mind is listing every reason you deserve more sleep. But you put your feet on the floor anyway. That's it. That's the whole game. You don't have to be perfect. You don't have to transform overnight. You just have to force yourself through that one moment. Compare yourself to who you were yesterday, not to who someone else is today, because you need a hierarchy of improvement. You need to be aiming at something, and that something is becoming slightly better than you were 24 hours ago. Not perfect, not flawless, not some idealized version that doesn't exist, just better than yesterday. Can you force yourself to be 1% more disciplined today than you were yesterday? Can you make your bed when yesterday you didn't? Can you go to the gym when yesterday you stayed on the couch? Can you say no to the thing that's destroying you when yesterday you said yes? That's the only competition that matters. You versus yesterday's you. And here's what happens when you win that competition consistently. You start compounding. That 1% improvement today sets you up for another 1% tomorrow, and another the next day. Do that for a month and you're 30% better than you were. Do that for a year and you won't even recognize yourself. If this is resonating with you, if you're starting to see where you need to force yourself harder, drop a heart in the comments. Tell me you're committing to this. Tell me you're done waiting. Now, here's where it gets uncomfortable, and this is where most people turn away. You need to stop doing things you know are wrong, not the things you're uncertain about, not the gray areas where you're not sure what's right. The things you know beyond any doubt are dragging you down. You know what they are. I don't have to list them. They're sitting right there in your consciousness. Those habits, those patterns, those choices that you make over and over, even though you know they're killing your progress. Maybe it's scrolling for hours when you should be working. Maybe it's saying yes when you need to say no. Maybe it's staying in situations that are toxic because leaving is scary. Maybe it's the substance you reach for when things get hard. Maybe it's the people you keep around who drag you backward. You know what it is. And here's the thing. Some of those things you can't stop yet. They're too big, too ingrained, too connected to other parts of your life. That's okay. But there's a subset, a small group of those destructive patterns that you could stop right now, today. Not easily, but possible. Force yourself to stop doing one of those things. Pick the one that's most obviously destroying you. Pick the one where the path forward is clearest, and force yourself to stop. What happens next is remarkable. Your vision clears. Not all at once, not dramatically, but slightly, just enough that you can see the next thing that needs to go. And then you force yourself to stop that too. You do this repeatedly, consistently, relentlessly, and you start moving away from who you were toward who you could be. Not by some grand transformation, but by forcing yourself to shed the things that don't serve you, one piece at a time. Let me tell you what nobody wants to hear. This is gonna hurt. Forcing yourself to be disciplined, to change, to let go of the comfortable destructive patterns, it's painful. But you have to be alert when you're suffering. Because suffering has something to teach you. Pain is information. It's your life telling you that something needs to change. And if you pay attention, if you stay alert instead of numbing out, you can learn what needs to shift. Is less than hash shown. Zero hash is greater than. I spent years running from discomfort. When things hurt, I distracted myself. When I felt the weight of my wasted potential, I found ways to not feel it. And that kept me stuck. Because the discomfort was trying to tell me something. It was saying, wake up. It was saying, this isn't working. It was saying, you need to force yourself to change before it's too late. When you finally force yourself to be alert during suffering, when you stop running and start listening, that's when real change becomes possible. Here's the brutal reality. Right now, today, you're building your future. Every choice you make, every moment, you force yourself forward or allow yourself to slide backward, it's all accumulating. You think time is neutral. You think you can waste today and still have tomorrow. You can't. Every day you don't force yourself to change is a day added to the pile of regret you'll carry. Every morning you hit snooze instead of forcing yourself up. Every evening you choose comfort over growth. Every moment you know what you should do but refuse to force yourself to do it. These aren't neutral. They're compounding in the wrong direction. But here's the good news. The reverse is also true. Every moment you force yourself to do the hard thing is building momentum toward the person you want to become. It starts small, almost insignificantly small. You force yourself to make your bed, to drink water instead of soda, to take a walk instead of scrolling, to say what needs to be said instead of staying silent, to work on your dream for 30 minutes instead of pretending you'll do it tomorrow. These tiny forced choices don't feel like they matter. In the moment, they seem almost pointless. But they're not pointless. They're proof. Proof that you can force yourself to act. Proof that discipline isn't something you're born with or without. Proof that you have more control than you thought. Tell me in the comments, what's one thing you're going to force yourself to change today? Not tomorrow, not next week, today. Be specific. Own it. You want to know why most people never force themselves to change? Because they're waiting for perfect conditions. They're waiting until they have more time, more money, more energy, more support. They're waiting for a version of life that doesn't exist. Life is never going to hand you perfect conditions. The mess you're in right now, the chaos and the uncertainty and the overwhelm, this is it. This is the only moment you're guaranteed. So you force yourself to work with what you have. You start where you are. You use what's available. You make progress in the mess. Because waiting for ideal circumstances is just another way of choosing to stay stuck. Let me paint you a picture of what happens when you don't force this change. 5 years from now, you're sitting in almost the same spot. Maybe the details are different. Maybe you've moved or changed jobs or gained some new responsibilities. But fundamentally, you're the same person with the same problems. Older, more tired, more bitter, more convinced that change isn't possible for you. You look back at today, at this moment, and you think about how you had the chance to force yourself forward, how you knew what needed to change, how you felt the pull to become more, and you chose comfort instead. That version of you in 5 years, the one looking back with regret, is begging you right now to force this change, to stop waiting, to start building something better today. Now let me paint the other picture. 5 years from now, you're looking back at today as the turning point, the day you stopped waiting and started forcing yourself to change. It wasn't perfect. You stumbled. You failed more times than you can count, but you kept forcing yourself forward. You built discipline, one small choice at a time. You stopped doing the things that were destroying you. You started doing the things that would build you. And slowly, imperceptibly at first, you became someone different, someone stronger, someone who doesn't wait for motivation but forces action, someone who faces problems instead of running, someone who keeps going when everyone else quits. That version of you exists, but only if you force yourself to start building it today. Here's what I need you to understand. Forcing yourself to be disciplined isn't about becoming some superhuman. It's not about perfection or never failing or having it all together. It's about being honest about where you are, honest about what's not working, honest about what you're capable of if you stop. Making excuses. Most people lie to themselves constantly. They pretend they're doing their best when they're not. They pretend they don't know what to change when they do. They pretend tomorrow will be different when they're not, planning to do anything differently. Stop lying. Look at your life with brutal honesty. See the gaps between what you say matters and what you actually do. Notice the patterns that keep repeating. Acknowledge the ways you're sabotaging yourself. That honesty is going to hurt. It's going to show you things about yourself you'd rather not see. But that pain is the beginning of change, because you can't force yourself to fix what you refuse to see. Discipline means taking the hard road, the uphill road, the road where you do what's right, even when it costs you something. It means waking up early when your body wants more sleep. It means doing the workout when you'd rather stay on the couch. It means having the difficult conversation when avoiding it would be easier. It means saying no to things that feel good but lead nowhere. It means saying yes to things that scare you but build you. Every single day, you're at a fork in the road. One path is comfortable. One path requires you to force yourself. The comfortable path whispers that you deserve a break. that you've been working hard and you should rest, that one day off won't matter, that you can start fresh tomorrow. And it's lying, because comfort compounds into regret. And every time you choose the easy path, you're making it harder to choose the hard one next time. But every time you force yourself to take the hard path, you're making yourself stronger. You're proving to yourself that you can do hard things. You're building the discipline that will carry you through everything life throws at you. I want to be clear about something. I'm not telling you that discipline will solve all your problems. I'm not promising that if you just force yourself hard enough, everything will work out perfectly. Life is tragic. Terrible things happen to good people. You can do everything right and still get dealt a devastating hand. But here's what discipline gives you. It gives you the strength to face whatever comes. It gives you the ability to keep going when things fall apart. It gives you the resilience to take the hit and get back up. Without discipline, when tragedy strikes, you crumble. You have nothing to stand on, no foundation to hold you. With discipline, when the worst happens, you have something to grab onto. You have the habits and patterns and mental toughness to survive it, maybe even to find meaning in it. The difference between tragedy and absolute hell is how you meet it. You can't always control what happens to you, but you can force yourself to control how you respond. You can force yourself to stay alert instead of numbing out, to look for the small, beautiful things even in the darkness, to keep doing the next right thing even when it feels pointless. That's not toxic positivity. That's survival. That's how you make it through without becoming bitter and broken. So here's where we are. You're at the end of this, and you have a choice to make. You can close this and go back to what you were doing, back to the comfortable patterns, back to waiting for the right moment. Or you can force yourself to change something. Right now, today. Not everything. Not your entire life in one dramatic gesture. Just one thing. One small thing that you know needs to change. Force yourself to do it. Or stop doing it. Whatever that one thing is. And then tomorrow, force yourself again. And the next day. And the next. String together enough of those forced moments and you'll wake up 6 months from now as someone different. Someone who doesn't wait for motivation. Someone who acts despite fear. Someone who keeps going when it gets hard. Now, I'm going to tell you something that ties directly into what we've been talking about. Because forcing yourself to be disciplined is only half the equation. The other half is learning to focus that discipline in the right direction. And that means getting serious about focusing on yourself and staying silent about what you're building. Because here's what happens when you start forcing yourself to change. You want to tell people, you want to announce it, you want validation for the work you're just beginning. And that urge to talk about what you're doing will kill your progress faster than anything else. I've got an entire message about why you need to focus on yourself and stay silent in 2026. About how the energy you waste explaining yourself to people who don't matter is energy you could be using to build. About how silence becomes your greatest weapon when you're transforming. If you're serious about forcing yourself to be disciplined, if you're ready to actually change and not just think about changing, then you need to watch that next. Because discipline without focus is just spinning your wheels. The video is called Focus on Yourself and Stay Silent. In 2026, Watch it, apply it, and stop telling people about the work. Just do the work. Save this video. Come back to it when you're about to quit. When you're tired of forcing yourself and you want to give up, come back and remember why you started. Nothing changes until you force it to change. You know what needs to be done, so go force yourself to do it. Now,